So now that we've created our table, you'd notice underneath it says create table employee. So this was actually successful. In order to see our new table, you come to the top left corner where it says schemas and refresh. Click the refresh button, select the drop down, and here you can see our new table. So the table was successfully created. So we go on to the next one. We need to create another table. This will actually get you comfortable with creating tables. So we need a department table. Let's see what's in there. So it should have department ID, department name, manager ID, location ID. Okay, so creating a table called departments. Each employee belongs to the department. So we need a primary key called department ID, which should be unique to each department. Not null, meaning it cannot be left empty. Department name. So this will always be varchar. So I'm going to leave it as 35. Some department name can be long. Not null also. This can be left empty. Should not be left empty. Then manager ID. So for this exercise, I am not going to create the manager table, but this is just to show you that each department has a manager. So there will be another table called location ID, because each department can be in different locations. Like you have your government parastatals where you have the location of certain things in different places. Maybe you have home affairs somewhere else, and you have maybe the licensing office separated elsewhere. So this is how we'll get to do this table. Okay, so we'll indicate the primary key, and then we'll execute this table. Okay, always remember to come in here. So successfully created, refresh on the top left corner, and we can see our departments table. So next we need to create a table called jobs. So please note that this whatever it is that you're creating, it is sensitive to the case. If it's uppercase, lowercase, whatever it is, please take note that it's quite important. So modifications in the future lessons will be made to all these tables. This is not the final state of these tables, so please take note of this. There are some things that we're yet to use. Job name. So I just want to check the declaration in here. Job title, minimum and maximum salary. Okay, so you have your job title. So this will follow through, let's say 20 words, it's too much. Job title, minimum salary. So for each job there is a minimum salary. So remember we had our salary from the first table in decimal place, and maximum salary, because by the time they tax your work, you should realize that you won't get the exact amount in there that you need to. So now that we've created our job table, I think that's about it. Job table. Always remember, put in your primary key. The whole affair of this particular lecture is to get you comfortable with working with databases and tables. If you have any issues, you're experiencing any issues, kindly let me know. I believe installation of the database, working with the server in the lab was one of our issues. So we've created the third table. The reason why we're creating the next table, job grade, is because as you rise in rank within an organization, different levels gives you different pay. So job grade, you have job grade level, lowest salary, highest salary. So grade level here is going to be our primary key. We're going to use it as varchar, and the reason why is because when it comes to grade level, just like you have for your educational level, where to say G5, G7, or whatever it is, it combines an alphabet with a letter. So next we're going to check for highest and lowest salary. So as you rise in rank, salaries change. So that's why you have a difference in salary. Okay. So there is no how you go through this exercise, creating these different tables, that you won't easily pick up what should be done. Then we add our primary key. At this stage, you should be comfortable with creating the objects within the table. Okay, so this is our grades, job grade table. Okay, it was successfully created. If you refresh, you can find it on the right hand side. Then there are some other tables that should be connected within the space, but in this exercise we're not connecting tables. We're just creating first the tables that we need, and we'll connect the tables in future classes. Next is job history. Every employee has a job history. So you have the employee ID, start date, end date, job ID, department ID. So I'm going to start from, let's see, job history. And the reason why this table is in here is because an employee can be taken from one department to the other. So I'm going to do something that is unconventional in here. Please take note. The first field here is the secondary key. If you see this within a form, if you want to check an employee history, you would want to find out the employee's information first, that is their name or ID number, some kind of identification. Then the next one here is start date. Okay, so the data type will be date, not null. So this is actually the primary key for the table. Start date is actually the primary key for the table. So the end date will also be date. The type will be date, because you need to know when an employee leaves or stops working. So next we have job ID and department type. So if you think about this, remember we have a job ID from the upper table. This is a foreign key, but because we are not yet joining them, department ID. So this is also another foreign key. But for the meantime, I'm just going to declare the primary keys first. So please take note. So remember, start date is actually the primary key for this table. Start date. And I purposely did not use date time. So we only need the date, not necessarily the time of the day this person started a job. We also just need the date, not date and time. So this is why it's left this way. The foreign keys in here, employee ID, job ID, department ID, will create a relationship with the other tables in the future. So connect this, and that was successfully created. So going further, try to it's sad that we didn't have this in class. I wanted everyone to join in so that you could try to create the remaining tables, but we're going to create another table called region ID. Oh, sorry. Region ID. So this would be the primary key. The primary key should never be left empty. Region name. Okay. So sometimes you want to pick the region where the job is, the workplace is located. Let's say it's in another part of the world or something of that nature. Then you want people to know which region it belongs to. Then we add our primary key in here. Please note, as we continue in the future with these lessons, these tables will become more complicated. But if you start from here, you'll be able to follow along easily what's going on. Next, we need to create another table called countries, so that we'll be able to add countries as a foreign key to the locations table. So you have country ID, country name, region as a foreign key. I'm going to create countries, a table called countries. Next, country ID, which will be unique to each country. Remember, a whole lot of things can be added to this table. Country name. So I'm gonna make this 35. I know some countries have like large, long names. Then the region. So if it's in Asia, Southeast Asia or something. So region ID. Remember we talked about this is a foreign key. And lastly, we'll have our primary key. Okay, so I believe we've had that. Yeah. Okay, well executed. Let's refresh. We have our countries table. Then we need one last table. One last table. Locations. Okay. So in our locations table, we're supposed to have location ID, street address, postal code, city, state, province, and country ID. Okay. So first we have our location ID. Please note that not all your primary keys will be integers. It depends. Location ID, streets address. So I just put it as this. It will be varchar. So